Ladies and gentlemen, if you are struggling with meeting the person of your dreams, stick around today because we've got a very special episode. John is recognized as the #1 dating coach.
I just wanted to meet those women that I'm seeing, and I couldn't figure it out. It was like, how can I stop them? How can I start a conversation? All in your mind, all the limiting beliefs, any depression you have will go away in those moments that you're really focused on a mission. And all of a sudden, beautiful, interesting, attractive women will come to you like a magnet.
But let me tell you one thing. I don't care what you think. I'ma just do me, and I wanna hear you sing. I got superpowers, superpowers. I got superpowers, superpowers. I got superpowers.
John Keegan, welcome to the show. Welcome to become your own superhero.
Thank you for having me.
Con gusto, senor, as they say in Medellin, Colombia.
Con gusto, with pleasure.
With pleasure,
Yeah.
with pleasure. You don't live in Medellin, do you?
No, I've come down here quite often. One of my favorite places in the world. It's my third time in a year, but I've just been here about a month.
You gonna stick around?
Well, I've got to head to Miami on Wednesday because I'm doing a course. I'm going to be coaching a course there. And then generally, I like to live in New York from like May through October.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you heard him mention a course. Probably, is it a mathematics tutoring course, a coaching course? Ladies and gentlemen, if you are struggling with meeting the person of your dreams, stick around today because we've got a very special episode. John is recognized in New York, at least, the state of New York, we're going to say, as the #1 dating coach.
Yeah, I've been a dating coach based in New York for 15 years or more. At one point, I just got to say 15 years. You know what I mean? I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But and I've traveled the whole world, all of South America coaching, all of Europe coaching, even in Asia I coached. So I've traveled the world over that time, helping people gain confidence and become great communicators and become great flirts. Yeah.
So, well, you know, if you've seen any of my stuff, Laban affectionately knows the world's best courage coach. Maybe, John, maybe we could designate you the world's best dating coach.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Thank you. I mean, I know a couple other guys that are up there, but only a couple. So there is that few that are really that experienced and that practiced and have a holistic way of helping people connect and not some kind of Machiavellian or manipulative way. So for me, when I started all those years back, it was always, how can I help people become more conscious? You know, how can I be more conscious? How can I be more awakened? And how can I connect with other people in this way, in this power of now kind of way? And that's how I went about it from my earliest days. And then that's how I started teaching it and promoting it. And I always kept it that to be my ideal, to try to meet that.
Did you find your way into this career path, this purpose, because of major heartache? Is that how it happened? Well,
That is true. Yeah. Actually, it was major heartache. I had a breakup, very pretty girl, but we just didn't get along. And we actually were both actors. So that was and we didn't know how to stop the drama, you know? And she was very beautiful, and she one day had enough of me, and that was it. And I realized I was hanging on to her only because she was so beautiful. I got a case of one-itis, they call it, where I was putting her on a pedestal, even though we just weren't right for each other. And then I realized at the same time, she was already with another guy before we broke up. It was like, that's how fast a pretty young girl can get another guy. And for me, I thought, hey, I'm a cool guy. What's happening here? I'm in the streets of New York City, which is, it's inundated with beautiful people all day, every day, interesting, beautiful people walking by me on the streets. Already at this time, I didn't really go to bars or anything like that, and I didn't want to. I just wanted to meet those women that I'm seeing, and I couldn't figure it out. It was like, how can I stop them? How can I start a conversation? How can I have that? And at that time, there wasn't really a guy like me to help anyone. There was some kind of cheesy or sleazy guys teaching stuff in nightclubs or stuff like that. But I was trying to figure it out on my own. So I kind of took my approach as an actor mixed with a little bit of Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. I said, the reason I'm going to go talk to people so I can get rid of all my fears and my limits about that, which is what there was a lot of, you know. And then I'm going to go up and just say hi to people. I'm going to fade into it. So I took a little Eckhart Tolle. There's a guy, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner. He was like the guy who helped people change their behavior. So it was like the early behavior modification. and we're probably all living in his lab right now. We had to changing our behavior every day, but that was that. But it was basically the idea that you can fade past your anxiety, that you can give yourself positive reinforcement. So I took those principles that I had learned somewhere, and the power of now, which I was deeply into at the time. And I just went out to the streets of New York and I started saying, I'm going to get past my anxiety around talking to women, around approaching women, about the confidence I have in myself. Like at the time I was an actor who really just was getting in off Broadway plays and stuff, and that even my mom wouldn't see, you know? So it was like the confidence around meeting a beautiful woman and them saying, what do you do? And me being like, well, I know one day I'll do something. And so it was that. So I had to learn how to really fortify myself within. So the journey was really an inner journey, an emotional journey of letting go. And the goal was to get to the point where I could talk to any one, whether they're beautiful or high status, anywhere at any time, and just be me, be the real me. And that was the goal. And then when I got to that place, it kind of became like everyone noticed that. And then one friend was an entrepreneur and he said, you should teach that. And I said, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm an actor. I'm going to do that. And he said, really, you should teach that. And then, of course, I said, well, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this in this awakened way. So I literally, back then, there was Craigslist. So I put an ad on Craigslist, which was something like, there she is, bright and shining eyes, walking by, you didn't say hi, running next to you at the gym, didn't say hi, standing next to you on the subway, didn't say hi, sitting next to you at the cafe, you didn't say hi. Sounds like a long day. And then I just put my name on, I just said awaken, contact awake. That was, I just called myself awaken. I didn't know anything else to say. And then I was, to my surprise, it was in the zeitgeist. A bunch of cool guys, interesting New York dudes. From one was a director of MTV True Life, one was this, and they wanted to hang out with me. And then I just started learning how to be a coach. And I had been paid many times for sales jobs or this or that. But my first session was the guy gave me $100, and I walked him through Central Park waving at people and showing him how to wave at people. And he was happy as hell. And when I got that $100, I was like, I just made that up out of my mind. And it was like, okay. And then I went with that. And within about 2 years, I was in the New York Times. And then I was on Fox and Friends. And, you know, I never worked for anyone ever again. And then it just kind of went off, you know. And there's two things you might know, like as a creator, as someone who helps people. There's the street cred of really helping people and getting that word of mouth, which is the most important. And then there is that mainstream thing, like, oh, I've been in the New York Times, yeah, I've done that. And that's a whole other journey that opens up doors in that realm. Mm-hmm. But the real realm is the working with people. Yeah. And that's the thing I've done almost every day since that day. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. What made me smile this morning, I was watching one of your interviews on, might have been a Fox and Friends.
Yeah.
And Tucker Carlson was announcing you being on the show.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
I was like, they're cool. You know, it's probably one of the most famous people on the planet.
Yeah.
West, at least.
And he was super cool and nice, and he made a couple funny jokes, you know, about dating or something to me, and then he went up after me, you know, and then because I was just like the little segment between his main thing, you know, in the morning. He used to be the morning guy.
Yeah, this is brilliant.
Hey, g'day there, and pardon the interruption. It's Laban Ditchburn here, affectionately known as the world's best courage coach. And if I'm someone that you've been listening to or watching on this podcast that you resonate with in some way, and you see me as being a possible solution to some of your biggest challenges, I would love to make available to you today a complimentary transformational coaching session. And I have limited space available. If this is something that resonates with you, go into the show notes or in the YouTube or the Rumble, find the scheduling link, book the time on your calendar, and let's get this started. Now, back to the show.
The compounding effect of time, isn't it? It's amazing what can happen.
Yeah.
One of the things, because, you know, I'm a happily married man, and thank God for that, because I was fucking useless having for a long time.
Yeah.
And my foray into having my eyes open was hearing about The Game.
Yeah,
the book, The Game. I think it's a book a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And I really didn't resonate with a lot of it. And I think when people hear dating coach, pick up artists, PUA community, a lot of people have a lot of negative connotation. What's the difference between, say, that and what you're teaching?
Yeah, this is a great point. So that book And I'd never actually read the book. Now, it's a big part of my story in the sense that that book put in a lot of guys' minds, I don't have, the good thing about that book, I don't have to be this guy that they said I have to be. The general thinking is you were born good with women. You were born good at dating. You're basically a nerd or you're not a nerd or, all those kind of things was how it was, And then it was that book, even though they had many flaws, the main story is you can transform, right? And here's some guys who help you do that, right? So that was the story of that. So throughout my time, when I started, that book was already around. And guys would have heard of that, but then they didn't resonate with it. And then they saw me very meticulously and very carefully putting this awakened message out. I was very careful. Like, to me, it was I was an artist, really, right? And I was just trying to still be an artist in this way. How can I make this artful? And so I was very careful. And that's why I think I got in all those things, because I said, exactly, this isn't that, this is something else. And so the big differentiator is that I'm here to help you love and accept being yourself. And the big thing about that book is you're not enough, be someone else. That was basically the other moral of the story, right? There were some good things in it. And I think the biggest thing it did was got guys talking to girls, and girls were like, hey, he's talking to me, I'll date him. And then they, maybe they figure it out, right? But for me, it's you are enough. Let's get you to love and accept yourself. Let's get you to tune into your interests and passions. And then let's get you through this aim of connecting with people, connecting with women that you desire. That's when a lot of the negative thoughts flood up. That's when it comes, I am not enough thoughts. I am not rich enough. I am not ripped enough. I am not, my teeth aren't white enough, right? Which I fixed this week, right? But I did it all those years like that anyway.
It helps to have nice white teeth, though.
I mean, honestly, it's nice, but I did it anyway. My teeth weren't so bad, but but I did, people did say you should get your teeth whitened a lot,
You should,
it's
just like,
I did
if you can, you should, right? Like,
yeah.
If you get a broken tooth, you don't want to have that. It's like, I think it's more of a sign of self-respect and
right.
Like, it's how you approach other parts of your life as well, right?
Well, of course, it's like I'm working out, I'm eating healthy, I'm doing all the things I think are right for me. I'm taking care of my spiritual health. My biggest thing is I used to say I'm not going to use any chemicals in my body or in my mouth. So I didn't do the whitening. That's why I didn't do it. I would use like the natural whitening. It just didn't work. This stuff worked,
Yeah.
I thought it was, at one point I was like, I'm giving up a lot just to not put up these chemicals, like I'm sure there's a lot of some girl that was like, I'm not dating that guy.
Well, I think if you're conscious to get rid of all the other chemicals, if you occasionally need them, like once every couple of years to get your teeth whitened,
agreed.
Like you're in a far better place, right? And I want to talk about Eckhart Tolle for a second.
Yeah,
because he's a brilliant man, but he's an ugly motherfucker.
I mean, he's not physically attractive?
Not physically, and I'm not saying it to be mean, by the way.
Yeah.
But his wife is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen his wife? She's in
Yeah. They work together.
Yeah. And evidence that you don't need to be a supermodel to attract a high value, high quality woman.
This is a man on a mission. That's the most attractive thing that you'll learn that on our journey is that women, and even in your own journey of flirting, you'll notice if you're tuned into your interests and passions, you're really focused in on something, and you're really like, wow, all in your mind, all the limiting beliefs, any depression you have will go away in those moments that you're really focused on a mission. And all of a sudden, beautiful, interesting, attractive women will come to you like a magnet, because you're on your mission. This man is on one of the greatest missions of all time. And I'll tell you a quick story. One time I was spinning out. This is when I was first discovering Eckhart Tolle. And I was totally in. And this is his early days, or the Power of Now's early days. And he was speaking at the Beacon Theater, which is a place where like the Rolling Stones play on the Upper West Side in Manhattan. It's a big rock concert place. The Beatles, whatever. Everyone's played there.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so I went there and I was struck immediately. It was packed. And it was all kinds of people. It wasn't like some hippie event or anything like that. It really was a cross section of everybody. And they were in that room. And this little man came out on this big stage with a single wooden chair. He carried it out himself. He sat the chair in the center of the stage, and he sat down, and he just did that thing where he starts breathing, and you hear him on his biking. And this room, I don't know how many, 20, 30,000. I don't know how many that holds that place. Maybe not that many, but a lot, right? and everyone was tuned in. And my mind was spinning that day. I remember, I'm going to go to this thing. Someone got me a ticket, and immediately my mind stilled by watching this guy breathe on a stage, right? And then he started laughing. He has that laugh, and then he started doing that, and everybody started laughing with him. The whole fucking place started laughing with this little man with a wooden chair on the stage, and all he did was breathe and laugh, and everyone was in and out. It was like to be in his presence, I'm sure, is superpower. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes up a lot for any lack of physical attraction. But
Yeah.
he's someone that my younger brother's actually been impacted more by Eckhart Tolle than me.
Yeah.
And I've seen it work wonders in his life. And I wonder if it'll get to a point as I go through my different, journey directions that I'll resonate more with what he's talking about. Have you found that in your own developmental journey? You resonate at different times and come back?
Yeah, this is really important. Like teachers are, right? There's a message from different things. Like there's a lot of people, with Eckhart Tolle, it didn't resonate, they come back later, or with other teachers, that was someone that to me, he's like my base, like that's like my base. I mean, what's more important than me being present and then now and caring about my being, rather like his main message is focus on your being and the doing will arise from that, a healthy place, rather than, hey, I got to do something, right? So, but yeah, there's been different teachers that all of a sudden it'll hit me what they're saying, and I wasn't ready for it then. And in fact, one of my first self-help books that really hit me hard was a very angry book, and it tapped into my anger about things, and that's the messenger I was ready for. And it was a book called Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. And this guy made me it was like, God damn, I started to see even the water was this, that, and all the things I was seeing, it was making me rage against the machine, And that's the messenger that resonated with me then. And then I over time try to reduce my anger right at the world and try to have peace with myself and peace with the world. But so it's when you're whatever frequency you're on, the teacher will come to you, I think, or something,
Yeah. How old are you, John?
No one knows that answer. No one knows. No one knows.
So we're not gonna.
I mean, you can guess. You guys can guess.
It's the reason I asked.
Yeah.
It's more around what was going through my head was once I learned how to not be a little bitch and I got my shit sorted and got physically in a good place and mentally and spiritually and stuff. When I met Anna, who arguably is the most beautiful woman I've ever laid eyes on.
Wow. I don't know if anyone else can see her, but it ain't that. You don't have to argue hard.
All right. And I can see, like I did a lot of work and I was 38 when I met her and I'd gone through a string of dating and failed relationships and I was ready to settle down. I can imagine a scenario where once you develop these skills that it's easy to pick flaws in the relationship because you can go and get someone better, like the dog with the bone over the water. What's your take on that?
Well, there is a truth to that. There is a truth that it's similar to dating a beautiful woman, especially from a guy. If a guy can look at it like, what's it like to be a beautiful woman? Well, they pick flaws, and especially a beautiful woman, say like in a big city, where there's a lot of options and a lot of successful people and a lot of interesting guys. And then she notices you got a bad temper. She doesn't like what you did over here or there. So 2 or 3 things starts to add up. You're done. She's on to the next thing, especially a young, beautiful woman. So as a man who has the ability now to meet women all day, every day, that doesn't mean it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't mean you're going to connect with them all. You're going to have a date every day of your life or whatever. You will have a lot of opportunities. You can get into that thing too, like, oh, well, there's just more over here. There's just more over here. So that's true. So then it comes down to a matter of priority. Like, what do I want in my life? Do I want to have a loving, kind-hearted, synergistic relationship? Is this what I want in my life at this time? Do I want to have a partner in life? So then it comes down to that, but you can fall into that. For me, I've been in long-term relationships. Currently, I'm happily single, but I've been in very long-term relationships. And then there is a part of me that really just loves the freedom of just being John and being here and going there and doing what I want. But I'll say that, so there's my answer. My answer is you do all of a sudden get to this point that you could, it's not just nitpick them. It's just that you could just never really, you could just say, why get involved in it when I can just go get another one?
Yeah.
So you could get into that. So it has to be a priority that I want to be in a relationship.
Do you think, or are you feeling that you are getting to a point now where you would like to, and when I say settle down, like one of the things that's important to me is setting a clear boundary about what you want. I want a monogamous relationship.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about having multiple sexual partners, or an open relationship, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, right.
And my wife is on the same page.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about, maybe I want kids? Are you getting that drive, that desire? Is that a part of your journey?
That's a great question, because I don't have kids. I think being an actor kind of slows you down when you're being an actor who's not super successful. You're just always you're living very young, like younger than you are to try to get to a place where you hit a quantum leap,
Yeah.
And so I had that, and that slowed me down a little bit on that. And in some ways, I'm very glad, because I probably would have had that and had a whole totally different life, because I would have just been in a different lifestyle, But I would say now, I am having that feeling like, wow, I wouldn't mind having a couple of kids, right? And also, I think it comes with a feeling of stability. Like, I've had some success, I'm doing well. I feel like I could provide that without a stressful life. Say, I don't want to be like, when you're going to be a bit of an older dad, you don't want to be running around like a 20-year-old dad or a 30-year-old dad. You want to be, you have something else to offer, which is some sort of security, some sort of calmness, some sort of, self-awareness that, say, my parents maybe didn't have when they were having me so young.
Yeah, because the earliest I'll be, by the time we have our first kid, will be 44.
Yeah.
And we're not pregnant at the moment, so that number could go as high as whatever. And I think it was Charlie Chaplin that had his last kid in his 90s.
Oh, did he really? Yeah. Oh, that's right. He's still like Ben Chaplin as an actor. Yeah.
They're really?
Yeah.
He's probably still not even that old.
Well, he's probably not that old. He might be 40 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. He's an actor I've never heard of.
Yeah. I've seen him around there somewhere. Yeah.
Silent films aren't popular anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I try not to have any regrets about the life that I've led, because I've wasted a lot of time objectively. But then if you're not having any regrets, then is it wasted? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
my younger brother's he's got 4 under 8.
Yeah.
4 under 7.
Wow.
And bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
And we would have had kids early. We've had a few challenges making babies and miscarriages, not for lack of trying and stuff. But maybe it's the universe just saying, wait, get your shit sorted, build that stability, create a different environment that you were exposed to, which was a lot of instability growing up. I don't know, what was your childhood like?
Oh, mine? Well, let's see. It was wild. It was a wild childhood. It was, I had 2 parents, so I'm lucky for this. But I would say, like, my mom, who's, God rest her soul, became a great person when I was 18. She went to therapy and then transformed herself. And it was a big lesson in my life. Like, oh, you can transform. So she showed me that. So she had a lot of great qualities, but they were both drinking. They were both partying, but they both had stable jobs and stuff. So a lot of kids around me didn't have any of that.
Functioning.
Yeah, high functioning. And they were both nice. And it was at different times. They were very hands off. For example, for 3 years, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, I didn't go to school. I figured out if I start trouble, they'll kick me out for 2 weeks. So I would get suspended, and then I'd come back and I'd start trouble again. They kick me out, and my parents didn't even know. Then I started straightening up when they started putting me in an in-school suspension, and I sat in like a box with no windows all day. And then I was like, this sucks. Yeah. So then I turned my life around. Yes. But so it was kind of like that. It was a little bit wild. When I look back, I'm kind of glad. I worked through all that drama, and I am kind of glad about the wildness, because I'm still like that. A little bit cool, a little bit unkempt, very free. I don't like to be locked into anything. I want to get suspended to get out of here if I have to. So I would say it shaped me a lot, but also overall I look at it as a happy time, and that's it.
That's good. I appreciate you sharing it.
Yeah.
It's for me, it's always interesting. 230 probably guests on the podcast over the last 4 years, and the childhoods of people tend to shape the direction of where they go. And some of the most brilliant, successful people in their own right, doesn't have to be necessarily with dollars and stuff.
Yeah.
Although often that is associated with it, have gone through unimaginable trauma growing up, or very dysfunctional parents who were ill-equipped to look after themselves, let alone their kids.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is it's really important that if you have gone through this, what I call the gift of adversity, like it's a new superpower once you realize it. And I'm curious to know, John, how many people have you worked with over the years? Do you think any numbers?
I always like to think it's in the thousands. I worked with, literally, I could tell you, since around 2007, there has been periods where I worked with people every single day. Obviously every day. Like, even I used to stay in New York through the winter. And then when I started traveling, somewhere, I lifted off and started traveling. I would say, so it's in the thousands. And then, there's a lot of one-on-one coaching too. It's like me and you on a journey, right? I've obviously done a lot of public speaking, so I've hit people that way. And then there's been people buying or downloading an audio course or my video course, so there's helping people that way. But yeah, so I would say in the thousands.
There has to probably at least be tens of hundreds of thousands, because your YouTube channel's had, I think, close to 1 million views.
Oh, did it? I didn't even look.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah.
But what's the worldwide similarity with, because you're working with only men, or you do work with women?
Well, here's how it started for me, men and women. And then along the way, I really honed in on men. I just honed in on that. But I do coach women from time to time. But it just became, I was so busy coaching men, and it's sort of a different program to coach women, that it became too distracting. So it just became, I'm just going to focus in on this. So really, I focus in on that.
Gotcha. So for the dudes out there, what is the universal similarity that all of these guys have when they come to you that's an obvious thing that you can start working on straight away?
The universal similarity for all guys is they feel like they're not enough. Even when, it doesn't matter if they're the richest guy in the room, doesn't matter if they were in, a Navy SEAL. There's just some reason that a male mind is wired to say I'm not enough. And those voices in the head, some people use those voices to propel them to have a great body, to propel them. Some people succumb to those voices. Some people use those voices to try to push forward. But when it comes to meeting and connecting with people, with other human beings, this is the most vulnerable will ever be in any endeavor. So it doesn't matter what they achieved or not. And it's something you have to work on directly. In a lot of guys' minds is, when I go and get that body, when I build my business, when this, when that. For me, it was when I become, a well-known actor and people are stopping on the street and say, I love your work, then I'll be me. So it's this idea that I'll be me in the future. And then I'll get the girl. Then I'll date those women. Then I'll be the cool guy who makes everyone laugh at the party.
Yeah.
Then I'll be me. And I think that's the biggest thing, is start being you today in this moment right now. And the only way to do that is love and accept yourself, even though you might not be perfect. So I like being me, even though I'm bald. I like being me, even though I didn't clean my room. I like being me, even though this, even though that. I like being me. I like being me, even though some girls give me a bad vibe. I like being me, even though sometimes I say something really dumb. Oh, man, but I like being me. And it's like coming into this place of loving being me and liking being me. Even though the world feels like shitting on me today, I like being me. You know what I mean? And it's like that good vibe, even having that mantra, even having that little dialogue like that makes me like being me more,
It makes me like being me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's infectious. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
no, it's brilliant, John. And when I met Anna, I was broke as fuck, probably 150 grand in the hole. And I realized that process of fixing that problem was going to take longer than I wanted to wait.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to convince myself that it's not a problem. And lo and behold, it wasn't.
Amazing.
Like, it never came up. And
you think you focused on her, I'm sure, right? Like, what did you focus on?
Well, I spent years in the lead up to meeting her.
Working on yourself.
Yeah. Because I went through a massive physical transformation. I completely reshaped my body. I got to I looked very disciplined because I was.
Yeah.
A lot of negative self-talk and stuff was eliminated out of my diet. I did a lot of work for like thousands of hours, undoing or unlearning and then relearning functional behaviors in all areas of my life.
Yeah.
And when I got to the point, because I never told you this when we met, but how I met Anna, I was on my way to a meeting.
Yeah.
In the main street in Melbourne, called Queen Street. Ironic. Queen Street, right? And I was supposed to take an Uber to my meeting. It was about 11 in the morning, and I decided to walk. And I looked left, and from about 70 yards away, there was this stunning woman. She looked back, and we kind of locked eyes for a split second. And then the only way I can describe what happened next, John, was I was struck by a bolt of lightning.
Wow.
Picked up by a force far greater than me, levitated towards her, and plonked down in front of her. And with the confidence of 1,000 Spartan warriors, I said, "Excuse me, but you are stunning." And I laughed. "Have you ever drank with me one time?" She goes, "You look good too."
Wow. That's beautiful.
So
Wow.
it's like the ultimate outcome for a guy that's worked on himself. It's a dream. Didn't have to do it through a dating app or whatever, which I used to utilize a lot of.
Yeah.
And we've been inseparable ever since. And there's another backstory where Anna had actually written a list of her ideal man 2 weeks before we met, and I'd written mine about 3 weeks before my ideal woman. And tick, 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 tick. Ridiculous. So she wanted a bald New Zealander who didn't drink, who didn't do drugs.
She wrote that down?
I swear to God.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And a bald New Zealander in Melbourne's not that uncommon. A bald New Zealander who doesn't drink and doesn't do drug stuff is way rarer.
Yeah.
Like it's almost impossible. So my point is, trust me, it's possible. You don't need to have all of these things. So what I can verify exactly what you're saying is my point.
But I want to say something here, the power of intention. And this is the real thing. Like the real clarity here is I intended for myself to become free of all those limiting beliefs and I actually wrote down, this reminded me of a personal journey. When I was setting myself up to walk into the guy I want to be, I wrote down all my goals. And it was at that time still, now I don't identify as an actor in any way. I used to be in a band. I don't identify as that. I'm just on a whole other thing. It's just part of my journey,
Yeah.
And, but I do identify as a they though. So don't you but I wrote down on a scrap of paper. I was writing all my goals. Who will I be, And one of them was, and it sounds a little cheesy, but I couldn't think of how to put it. And I said, I will be known as one of the world's great ladies' men. And I had like ideas of like movie stars, like Leonardo DiCaprio or something. I'll be known.
He needs help.
Yeah, he needs help, right? And I had that, and I posted it on a wall, and I just on like a sticker on a wall. And just a few short years after that, the New York Times came and they did an article, a whole piece on it. And they, when you go to somebody like that, you have no control, and most likely it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
But somehow it wasn't bad. It was really nice. And they called it the ladies' man. And that's very interesting. I will be known as one of the by the biggest newspaper in the world at the time, as one of the world's great ladies. Yeah. So it was kind of like a cool, reminded me of what, and you said she wants a bald New Zealand. Like, be that specific with what you want. And I say that to my clients too, like, what do you want, right? What are we working on? What are those goals? And when women do come to me, who is that guy? Who is he not? What doesn't he? When you see it, walk away, right? Which is a big problem.
Well, so sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
If women are out there, and I know you're mainly working with dudes,
Yeah.
Hannah works with women and teaches them how to manifest their dream.
Oh, it's amazing. Okay.
So
yeah,
not just to meet and date, like usually they are divorced or they're widowed,
Right.
or not in any case, not every case, but like this because even in the list you put things like we travel every 3 months, we make love twice a day. And she had to, this is hilarious, like she had to dial it down because we were like wearing each other out. But legitimately, in the 5.5 years we've been together, we've been traveling every 3 months. And that includes being locked down in Melbourne for 2 years.
Wow.
So, we've lived in 5 countries together. Four countries together.
And the lovemating's kept space?
It's averaged down easily.
Okay.
It's averaged down easily. So, it's just shows you the significance of like, not compromising any deal breakers
Yeah.
at all. 100% honesty, which I know you're about to talk about this in a second.
Yeah.
Being super dialed in on what it is that you want. You feel free to comment on any of this, by the way, before we launch into this whole honesty piece, because it's what I want.
Yeah. Okay.
But when we first got together, I said to her, you can ask me anything you want as long as you're happy to hear the answer. Yeah. And boy, howdy, did she take me up on that.
Yeah.
And I was forced to reveal some parts of my life that I didn't want. And other people knew about it, but I had to reveal. But it was that experience that in her words, that built this layer of trust between us that allowed her to open up a year later about some really heavy stuff and allowed her to start the healing journey. How significant has being authentic and honest in what you're teaching people?
Yeah, this is such a big topic. I'm sure everybody, when they hear that, they're like, oh, like, because there's some things we all don't want to be, like I'm sure it's like, how honest, Well, the biggest thing to me is the word authentic. And what does that mean? Being an authentic version of yourself, being true to yourself, being real to yourself, wherever you're at right now. And even if you're watching this and you're in a relationship, not being authentic to yourself and really to your highest self, not to, authentic, I'm angry, let me lash out on this moment, but being authentic and true to yourself. So if there's a problem in the relationship and your partner doesn't want to hear it, that you figure out a way to communicate that in a healthy way so that you can continue to have a relationship. I remember a long time ago in a relationship and I was biting my tongue all the time because I didn't want to lose the girl. And it was like, I lost the girl anyway. So it was like, and along the way, I lost myself a bit too. Mm-hmm. So it was like, the only thing you can do is be authentic. And then it's the same thing as if you're very single and you want to meet someone. If you don't really bring your real self, then you're not meeting the person that you really want to be with. Mm-hmm. So you really have to be as true and authentic when you meet them, that you're actually meeting someone, not just because they're pretty or because they're attractive, because they're right for you. So if you're hiding yourself, you're not being honest with yourself, or you're not being honest with them in the moment, from moment to moment, then you're basically cheating yourself and them out of a real connection. So it's like this level of honesty starts always with yourself and ends with yourself. And then you're bringing it out to the other person and you're communicating it in a great way. That's a big part. It's like some people say, oh, I'm honest. And they're just shitting on people all day or they're just causing problems all day. So it's like being a great communicator. And you need to have a partner when you get into a relationship, or even if you're just single and you're talking to someone for the very first time, you need to be qualifying and screening them. Are they a great communicator? Can they communicate with me? Do they get me? And the biggest thing I will say is, if someone doesn't get your sense of humor, it doesn't mean they have to laugh at every joke, but if someone fundamentally doesn't get your sense of humor, then it's going to be a long, hard life, or maybe a short, hard life, because that's the way we deal with our suffering. Is we have humor. Yeah.
And I laughed and still laughs at my stuff harder and faster than anyone I've ever in my life.
Wow. So yeah,
first time I've heard someone vocalize that. Yeah. That's good feedback.
Yeah.
John, what's your favorite success story? I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm going to put you on the spot.
No, I have a lot of success stories. Let me think about it. Well, I would say, like, when I was a kid, and we're both bald brothers, right? Brothers. We actually are starting. A men's.
A little bit lighter. Let me up there. We're going to have to get some post-production.
There's no Propecia in this house. This is all testosterone. Understand?
Okay.
So here's what I'm saying. The question was, what's my greatest success story? So there was a commercial when I was growing up, maybe it's still on, I watch TV, but where the guy says, I'm not just the president, but I'm a client of the Hair Club for Men. I am my own greatest success story. I am transform myself to become the guy that was depressed, anxious, focusing on total self-doubt, and then transform myself to being a beam of light that helped other people see the light. And that, to me, that's my greatest success. And then when I come along, so many different guys just this year, let's just think of a guy this year, let me go back in time. Oh, here's a great success story. There's a guy named Bill. We'll call him Bill because his name's Bill. Right? Bill found me online. He wrote to me a really funny letter, and he said something like, he called me Mr. Miyagi, and he, listen, I've been I've been in a math lab my whole life. I don't know anything about women. Teach me about women.
Math or myth?
Math. Yeah, math.
Not a myth.
No, it's not a
not well.
Yeah, that's the East Coast accent. Yeah.
Bill White.
Yeah, it was Bill White. Yeah. So he said basically. So we met up in person. He said, "Look, he had a PhD from Princeton in math.
Ivy League.
Yeah, in math." And he said, "Look, I'm 1 years old. I don't know anything about women. Teach me about women." Very smart guy. He was actually very charismatic.
This narrows down the bills that are available.
Yeah,
1-year-old Bill
yeah.
from Princeton.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bill.
Well, he will happily tell you the story.
Okay, good.
That's why I use Bill. So he overcame. It was very hard for him to go into the social realm. He was in the math realm, the numbers realm, and he overcame a lot of like linear thinking. That's all it is. And I was showing him to see all the possibility all around him. And he said his training was the opposite. They teach an economist to see anything that can go wrong at any time. And I was showing him the one thing that could be right. And I want you to tune into it. The one thing you like and say it to her. The one thing, the one thing that's right about this moment, and focus on it. And so that was a whole, just him seeing the world from looking for what's wrong with this moment to seeing what's right with this moment, to seeing what's beautiful about this moment, was a huge shift. And then we got to this place where he started becoming really great conversationalist and having fun with the process. He took it on like I was Mr. Miyagi, which is, what I like when someone's saying, this guy has something to teach me, I'm gonna absorb it. And he took it on just like I was one of his professors at Princeton. Like, this guy knows his stuff, I'm gonna listen. And over about a 6-week period, he went from total introvert to dating a beautiful Brazilian girl that he met in a Whole Foods. And they were having a great time. And then we started doing this exercise I called cold reading, which is where you read someone cold, or you read like a painting cold. So it would be like, if I was meeting you, I'd say, hey, I'm gonna guess about you. And I'd say, all right, you've got this satin black shirt on. Is that black? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, satin black. Right? You got you're sitting like this, you got that kind of like chill vibe. You have this bright eyes, like really alive, very well trimmed beard. I'm gonna guess you are working as a spiritual counselor. Plus, is that true? No?
Plus.
Yeah. So something like that it could be, or it could just be, hey, I noticed your black shirt and your slacks. You just look super clean, man. So in this case, I was teaching him the cold reading thing, and I said, I want you to go to an art gallery. There's like art gallery nights in New York. I want you to go to one of these art gallery openings, and I want you to see a girl looking at a painting, and I want you to cold read the painting and ask her what she sees in the painting. And so he did that. And then they started cold reading each other. And then they realized that some years ago, he tried to approach her on a train, and she just ignored him.
Nah.
And they had met. Yeah. Then now, some years later, they have 6 kids. 6 babies. He wanted to have a big family. So he said, this is a great woman. This is the woman that's going to be a great wife, a great mother. We're going to have a great life. And they have 6 young kids right now. So it all started like that, from cold reading and painting. And then in that moment, and they had a synchronicity where the timing didn't line up before. He wasn't able to bring it. They weren't in the, whatever it was, but he did. He was bold enough to try. And maybe that was the last time he tried or whatever, but then they met again,
That's a bravo, Bill.
Yeah.
Bravo
yeah.
to you.
Pretty good, right?
Well, on that note, how do people get a hold of you to do this?
Yeah, so listen, I have a website called theawakenedlifestyle.com, and I have, all my programs there. My Instagram, which I've been focusing on a lot lately. I've been doing a lot of interviewing women, really what they want out of dating.
Fascinating interviews on the street as well, folks, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you can work with me in person. So through my website, you can just fill out an evaluation form, tell me what's up, and I'll get back to you. And then I have a really amazing mentorship video course called The Master of Connection. So that's a way where you can take this 6-week video course, and then we also compound it with video calls. So there's basically just 2 ways. You can either work with me fully in person, where we do a program together, or you can take my Master of Connection video course, which really took me all those years to create. It's a very beautiful course, and it's a tale of 2 journeys: the emotional journey of letting go of what you're not, stepping into who you are, and the physical journey of becoming a great connector, great icebreaker, great conversationalist, great date, great texter, great toucher. How do I touch her? So all that stuff's in that course.
You are a great toucher.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah. Very non-threatening.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's different with women.
Yeah, right. A little higher.
Do you have any final concluding thoughts for our highly intrigued audience?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. What I think for me, the biggest thing is like how you and I met. We met through a synchronicity, and that was the biggest lesson I learned in my life. I could tell one more small story.
Please.
Yeah. On my personal development journey, I was learning about mindsets and food. And at this time, it wasn't the meat stuff. It was more of the raw vegan diet. We're going back a long time. And in this part of my journey, it was an important part of my journey. And I was reading this book by this guy named David Wolfe. And it was called The Sun Food Diet Success System. It was this huge Bible-like book. It was really 2 books. And and a lot of the stuff he says in it now is very more mainstream. It became more mainstream. But then it was totally like I found a gem. I couldn't believe I had it. It was blowing my mind all day. The mindset stuff, And there was this thing called synchronicity. I'd never heard of it. Synchronicity. Basically, when you're in the right place at the right time and in the right state of mind, you will align with people, places, and events that will take you on another trajectory in your life. So I was absorbed in this book at that time, like, a guy finding a religion or something. I couldn't believe it. And I was reading the book. I was obsessed with the book. And this guy, David Wolfe, lived in Hawaii. He's like one of those guys who wears like a poncho. He has that whole thing. He's, showing you how great cacao is out of the cacao. Yeah. So, anyway, one day I'm sitting on a New York subway with that book in my hand. And I look up, and there's a guy with a poncho sitting across from me, and it's David Wolfe. Now, you see famous people in New York all day, every day. It's like seeing pigeons. It's like, right? So, and they're much more famous than him, right? So I looked up. I say, David Wolfe, right? I never say anything to any famous people. David Wolfe. He's like, hey, man, what's up? And he goes, I knew I'd meet someone today. What are you doing for lunch? And then him and I walked down, met another buddy of mine who was into it, and we all had lunch together. When you and I met, it was like you and I both decided to step outside maybe of a little bit of our comfort zone. Like when I was growing up, my dad hated going to parties. He'd always be like making a big fucking deal about going to parties. So whenever there's a little big event, there's always a little resistance for me still to this day. Like, fix my eyebrows. I got to do whatever. I got to go to the party, go meet new people. There's always still uncomfort. So I stepped out of my comfort zone, went to this party. I didn't even know what it was about, to see an old friend. And then there we met. And now here I am, and here you are, and maybe someone's getting something out of it. So it was a really amazing synchronicity.
I nearly didn't go.
Yeah,
I was kind of bullied into going.
Really,
best way possible, and it was because the 2 English guys wanted me there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Our interest.
Yeah, the guy organizing it. Hey, can you make sure Laban comes?
So basically, I was the same way. I almost didn't make it to that party. The guy who invited me didn't really sell it to me. He's like, oh, there's some social media event or something. I'm like, well, I don't know what that means, but I'll say hi to you. That's all it was like. I'll come, man.
Yeah.
So I got there. Yeah. That was it.
It was amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, John Keegan.
Great to meet you the other day, and great to do this podcast with you. That was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.